Sweet Late Night continues for you. Mozambique is, or rather will be sending a medical team to identify the bodies of 12 people who were beheaded during the Islamic State-linked attack in the northern Palma region of Cabo Delgado. Now, it's suspected that the victims may be foreigners. For more on this, I'm joined by the Institute for Security Studies senior researcher Martin Eo. Martin, it's good to have you with us tonight. What is happening as far as you know at this point with the 12 beheaded people who were attacked during last month's attack?
Thank you, Tebo. I also wish to say good evening to your listeners. Yes, I think the situation in Palma, what happened the week of the 24th of March is beginning to unfold now as the government, the soldiers are actually combing the place to see what really happened, to evaluate the scale of the attacks that we witnessed between the 24th and the 30th of March, when the insurgents attacked rampantly different places in Palma, including the Amarula Hotel. We are now told that 12 bodies have been discovered very close to the hotel, and many people believe that these were people who had been in the hotel or were either hiding in the hotel, and now they've been found dead, and that these bodies are likely foreigners who were in that hotel. I think we'll get the true scale and the true identity of these individuals as the government continue to work towards identifying those people as much as possible. But so far, there is no details in terms of the identity of these individuals.
Do we know their nationality except for the fact that they are not locals?
It is still too early to actually say their nationalities until they have been confirmed. There are some ideas about who that might be, but I think for the purposes of the family victims and so on, it is not fair to release those countries as yet until they have been confirmed by the medical staff.
Now, the gas projects around Palma remain the targets of the attacks. What are the attackers saying will it take to stop the attacks?
Look, the situation in Palma remains, in my view, very volatile, given also the fact that the insurgents actually retreated by themselves through pressure from the Mozambican security forces. But the fact that we don't know where they went to, how they disappeared, is for me very concerning because if they retreated because of the pressure from the security forces, it might mean that they can still go and reinforce and then come back in a different way, which means that we shouldn't celebrate the liberation of Palma as yet until we are sure where these insurgents are and what their planning is. Because from experience in other regions of Africa, such a situation could mean that they could come back in a much more ferocious manner.
Now, those returning from the Institute of Security Studies point of view, what are they saying is the situation on the ground?
Well, the situation is calm. It is being stabilized, as we also know that since the 1st of April, displaced people, those who fled the violence, have started going back. Quite a number of them have been back. We've also seen them on TV. Sky News has done a good job in terms of showing us the images of those who are returning and the conditions that they are faced once they are back in Palma. We can also appreciate the nature, the scale of the destruction that took place during the insurgents' attack. So it is it is a situation which remains very, very dire. Those who have returned have been hit by hunger because the insurgents use the scorched earth policy when they attack the city, destroying food crops, killing animals, and anything that could support livelihood in the region. So that's what those who have returned now are facing, hunger. So humanitarian assistance is urgently needed in the region.
As for the scale of the casualties and the displaced, do we now have a clearer picture?
The casualties, again, these attacks were all over the town, so they were very rampant. I don't think that the security forces have been able to come through the whole city to evaluate the exact scale, and so that we know, because even the bodies that are being reported now were actually buried. So we don't know how many other graves, mass graves are out there that have not been discovered. From experience is that such attacks, such destruction often takes some time before we actually know the exact scale of the destruction. So we are still waiting for a lot of discoveries to occur in Palma so that we know. Remember, it took quite a number of days of intensive attacks. And as I said, that the attacks were all over the town in different places. So as the government forces are trying to verify what exactly happened, I think we need to be patient with that process and see exactly what the scale of the destruction in Palma.
Some news agencies have reported disruption in communication. Have the communications channels been restored now?
They are being restored. People can make limited phone calls, and there have actually been some WhatsApp, depending where you are. So these things are being restored, but they were completely cut off. It was very difficult for anyone to communicate out of Palma, given the scale of the destruction on communication infrastructure and even transport. So it was difficult for people to even access the region. We saw that Sky News actually went there with the helicopters. They took routes in somewhere where it was possible. But many of these infrastructures, at least the basic ones, are being repaired so that they could provide access to people.
Now, regional leaders, of course, met last week, and they have concluded that they will send a mission there to assess the threat, but also how they could possibly help. Is this a step in the right direction, in your view, the kind of intervention that is required right now?
Well, it is the best decision for the moment. Remember, it has been a very tense situation. We have not been able to obtain compromise between what the Mozambican government wants and what the international community wants. Why the international community has been more about having a robust intervention, which includes foreign capacity, to back or support that of Mozambique. Mozambique has been more about, doing this alone, but with some support, especially logistic support or military support, those kind of support. They have not favored having boots on the ground or foreign forces on the ground in Cabo Delgado. And I think President Nyusi repeated that today, saying that SADC forces are welcome, but the sovereignty of Mozambique comes first, which means that the SADC region will still be faced with a situation of having a compromise. But it was a good decision, actually, that they decided to have what they call technical deployment, whatever that means. But what we thought, which is exactly what you have interpreted, that it is about sending in a technical mission that could go and evaluate the situation and make recommendations to SADC leadership in terms of what role that SADC can play, to really bring this situation in Cabo Delgado to an end. I think it's the right way. We were not asking SADC to just get up overnight and send in forces or send in responses to Mozambique. No, SADC has to evaluate the situation, has to come up with a plan which responds to the exact situation on the ground. And I think that this technical mission will do exactly that, which we are pleased. And we are also pleased by the fact that the timeline for reporting to SADC is very, very short. They have said the mission should report to SADC by the 29th of April. So by the end of this month, that technical mission needs to report to SADC, and SADC during an extraordinary summit that will be held on the 29th of April, will have to decide on the recommendations of that technical mission. So we are really looking forward to this, because SADC's response to what is happening in Cabo Delgado is really overdue. And we hope that, given the urgency that we've seen recently with SADC leadership, that the meeting on the 29th will come up with specific steps, or at least specific or concrete action in terms of helping Mozambicans, overcome the situation in Palma. So good approach so far. We can look forward to it. It's overdue.
Is it, Martin, because you believe that, there are some leaders who have called for the reviving of regional force to send there? Do you say that will exacerbate the situation, will make it worse?
Look, yes, that's what is being thought of, and the posturing of many SADC countries can actually reveal some of the discussion at that meeting, which took place in Camara. I think we believe that the idea of deploying the SADC brigade, which is the SADC brigade established within the context of the African Union Standby Force, which has been developed, but we are not sure about the specific readiness of this standby brigade to to carry out the kind of complex tasks that is required of it in Cabo Delgado. But you remember last year, the Troika of the organ on politics, defense, and security actually met also and declared that that brigade capable, declared that brigade ready, to be deployed in any situation in the SADC region. So we believe that that has been the discussion now in terms of deploying that SADC brigade, but the exact component of that brigade will still need to be defined, and the concept of operation of that brigade will still need to be defined. I believe that the mission, the technical mission that is being deployed, will be to look into these various aspects and to see how ready the brigade is. But we should not limit our thinking in terms of SADC deployment only to military intervention. Again, there are so many aspects of this crisis that SADC can play a critical role that can bring remedy to a lot of people in Cabo Delgado, in Mozambique. I believe that if you look at the political aspect of it, if you look at the economic aspect of it, especially the humanitarian aspect of it, SADC can play also a key role. And I believe the technical mission will have to look into these various components and to see what is it that SADC needs to do. So it is not just about the military intervention. Yes, the military intervention could be the most expensive aspect of this SADC deployment, but it is not, and it should not be. It should be a part of a comprehensive political strategy to respond to the situation in Cabo Delgado.
All right, Martin, I appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us tonight. Senior researcher at the Institute of Security Studies, Martin Iwi.